Hello, you gorgeous human being. It is Susie Ashworth here, and you are listening to the Infinite Receiving podcast. And I'm excited. I've got another juicy one. I feel like that might almost be the catchphrase for all of my conversations that I have with my incredible guests. I've got a juicy one for you today. I want to introduce you to ex-reality TV star and retreat host Leanne Brown. Leanne, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Susie. It's a pleasure.
You are very, very welcome. And for those of you who are not familiar with Leanne's name, Leanne was one of the stars of the reality TV show, The Real Housewives of Cheshire. And for those of you who listen to the podcast, you will know that one of my favorite guilty pleasures is The Real Housewives. And I'm really, really interested to hear about your journey onto the show, and then also how different life is now you have separated from that world, because I feel like, and obviously the conversation will unfold as it unfolds, but what you stand for, what you're interested in, the things that you support people with feels quite different from that kind of world. So tell me about the beginning of your journey onto Real Housewives of Cheshire. How did it happen?
So, it was a producer that I think that was just looking on Twitter and looking for women that were either, in this area, in the Cheshire area, quite affluent women, like with footballers, or just that were connected in some way. So they approached Dawn first, and then obviously I was friends with Dawn, and then connected with me, and it sort of like branched out like that. So we just got approached asking if we want to come on the show, and I just started a kids clothing range called Kiss Frogs at the time. So I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity for me to promote that and get the exposure from it. So obviously everybody around me was like, don't do it. Have you seen the American ones? It's awful. It's like all bitching and arguing and backstabbing. I was like, well, I'll just be myself. I was quite confident in the fact that they can't change you if you don't give them anything to actually manipulate or change. But obviously there's an element of them getting little looks and then, creating more drama from the arguments and things. And it was really exciting and it was really fun in the beginning. And we sort of went into it. I'll say we went into it with knowing what the other housewives represented and obviously being nervous about that. But we were sort of told it's about women, empowering women. If you've all got your own things going on, it's going to be empowering. It's a bunch of women that are doing their own businesses and stuff. So very quickly I learned that actually the percentage of what they show of your businesses and stuff like that was very minute compared to the drama that they actually wanted from it. So yeah, it was, I would say I don't regret it, because it was what has enabled me to gain the knowledge and growth that I've had to be in the position I am now. But it was a journey. And I always say when I was in the Housewives, you kind of get lost in that world, it is like a bubble. And living in Cheshire, they say, is like a bubble anyway. And then being married to a footballer, again, another, bubble. And I was a bit lost. And I talk about having a shopping addiction and going out and buying things, and my wardrobe was ridiculous, and buying things that you just don't even wear and having labels on, and it's criminal now when I think about the money that was spent on clothes and bags and shoes. And it was that world that you were just trying to keep up with Joneses, you know, like buying the next bag and the next season stuff from Harvey Nicks because you just wanted to, you're just comparing yourselves to other people's lives and wanted to have the same as everyone else and sort of fit in. But yeah, the show was, it was definitely an experience.
So you were in business before the show. You were doing your own thing before the show. What was that
Well,
life like, and
I'd
what?
sort of, so I just started. I'd only just started, so I was doing designs, and you know, I'd had 3 girls, and I just felt like I wanted to do something for me. Wes had just started at Sunderland, so he wasn't. I was going to move with him, and this is like how everything is divine timing. Because if I'd have moved with him to Sunderland, I wouldn't have been on Housewives of Cheshire because I wouldn't have been a Cheshire housewife. So, but he was like, no, stay here. You know, I want to come back every week and see my family, and you know, there's no shops there. He was like, there's not really many shops there, and there's like, I was like, oh, okay then, I'll stay. But no, he was like, you want to see your friends and stuff. And so yeah, I stayed, and he was signed for 5 years, so we seen very little of each other over that 5-year period, and I'd not long had Lola as well, so it was, I sort of threw myself into Housewives. I suppose it was more of a distraction as well of the fact that, you know, I was sort of going solo in a sense, because Wes was only home like once a week and for a matter of hours, and then he'd have to go back again, and the kids had a lot of social stuff on at the weekend, so I very rarely even got up to Sunderland to watch him play as well. So, and obviously girls being into dancing and stuff like that as opposed to football. If not, then well, they might have been up their own football, but you know, they wasn't really interested in watching the football either. So yeah, so it was just sort of the initial stages, and when it fell on my lap, I thought, well, it is perfect to sort of promote that. So yeah, it was only the beginning. So what were you going to say? Sorry, what was it like?
So how old are your kids? You've got 3.
Okay. I've got one daughter's 20, she's 21 this year. Another daughter is 16, and the other one is 12. So Hallie, Lilia and Lola.
Wow. And so, and you and Wes are together for how long? Oh no, our connection's not good. Can you hear me, Leanne?
I can, but you
Have you
just
lost me?
frozen for a bit. I can
Okay.
hear you.
I was just saying, you and Wes are together for how long?
So 25 years. Long time.
Wow. What an achievement. That's really quite incredible. Obviously, you just said that when he was at... Go on.
No, I was just going to say, and we are, we've separated, but we are very amicable, and, you know, we're co-parenting, and I am just so grateful that we've been able to stay such good friends, and obviously that's testament to the 25 years that we had together, although it was difficult, and there was a lot of reasons why, like, we've separated for the best, but ultimately, yeah, I'm just so grateful that we're able to show the girls that you don't have to stay in a relationship if you're unhappy, and actually you can still be friends outside of, you know, a long relationship like that. Because I have so many friends that sort of have separations and then they don't get on with their ex-partner, or they make life difficult for them, and you know, it's just so heartbreaking, you know, for the kids. So I'm really, really, I was saying it, I'm really, really grateful. I'm really grateful for that. So. But yeah.
Yeah, I really resonate with that. I was together with my partner for 15 years, and now we co-parent our 3 children. And it's definitely not always easy by any stretch of the imagination, but the intention and the desire to really be a model for, I think, also to honour the fact that we did 15 years together and we were happy and created these three incredible children. It would be a travesty to not honour each other and respect each other, if only for that. And I think that for us, it's actually, we recognise that we're both good human beings. We're good people. And so even though we are going through that process of not being married, it doesn't take away the fact that that's a good person and I'm a good person. And we see that and try to come from that remembering as often as possible. And I think that it's really important.
Absolutely.
What
It is.
do you think was your secret? Now, I know you just said that you were, for the 5 years when Wes was in Sunderland, actually you didn't see him a lot. But what do you think contributed to you being able to be together for 25 years?
I think, see, it's difficult because the one thing that was lacking in our relationship, it was communication. And you think, how can you have a relationship for 25 years and not have communication? But ultimately, I think the kids are the distraction, aren't they, for any relationship, you know, to enable you just to throw into being a mum. And obviously he's working, so I was obviously then, when the housewives come along, I threw myself into that. But what I've realised now is there's communication, and obviously I've took accountability for a lot of things myself as well, because of I was wanting so much from him, but ultimately I wasn't doing those things for myself. So I actually put a post up the other day and saying, now, when you desperately want to be seen and heard by somebody external that's in your life, and quite rightly so, but ultimately I didn't see myself and I didn't hear myself, because I didn't really, like I say, I was lost. So I wasn't in my authentic state, because obviously being a mother is one thing, but ultimately I was buying things to fill a hole that couldn't be filled by anything materialistic, but that was the distraction of, you know, the relationship is missing something. And actually I felt like I just wasn't taking notice of that within me. I was wanted to project it on an external level. So and what has come up for me massively is my trauma from my childhood. Trauma's a really strong word. When you say trauma, think, oh, trauma, you know, it's really, but trauma can be so small and insignificant almost to some people when you think of, oh, well, you know, your mum and dad separated. Well, how many mum and dad separate? You know, deal with it. But actually, as knowing now how I am dealing with my past and my dad leaving, and what I witnessed in my mum and dad's relationship, he was abusive, and I ended up being in an abusive relationship after when I left home when I was 16. I mean, when I think of it now, like what I put my mum through when I was that age, I went off the rails at age 13. My mum was a single parent, you know, and when you're in it, when you're in that childhood world, you don't really understand what is going on an emotional level. You sort of just driving yourself through each moment and just not dealing with things very well, but you're just projecting, I suppose. That's what I was doing. I was searching for someone to love me because of the gaping hole that my dad left in my life, and it is the father wound, and that has been a huge sort of enlightened learning for me, that actually, why did I put up with things like that? Why am I the way that I am in that relationship? Why did I accept so many things? And actually, it's not about Wes, it's about me having my own voice because of my childhood and how that affected me. So there's so much healing that has gone on through me being able to separate and have the courage to do that, which I would have probably never ever seen or worked through if I was still in that relationship. So that's what's enabled me to sort of do the work I'm doing now, because I'm experiencing all this stuff that's coming up through my life and the triggers that are showing me, you know, from my childhood, and enabling me to heal and then share my experiences to help others, you know, see their own trauma and own shadows so they can start the process of healing themselves.
I really resonate with that. I'm curious, what did going off the rails at 13 look like? How did that manifest?
So I was going out a lot, hanging around, you know, going to just going into the town and just drinking and getting people to buy us cans of beer that were like super strength beer, and pinching alcohol from my mum's cabinet and making mixes and drinking it and getting so drunk to the point of passing out. You know, it was horrific. And then I was going out, you know, doing all sorts. I was smoking weed. I was even like doing other things, you know. It was pretty, like I would say I did to do magic mushrooms when I was younger. Not 13, I think I was a bit older than 13, but they used to grow. I mean, I have had experiences with magic mushrooms since, but on a more of a microdosing level, you know, because it's been used now to help people with addiction and depression, and so that's been studies that have come out. So I have used microdosing, but back then I was doing it on a recreational level, and they used to grow in the field, so we used to pick them, and me and my brother used to make the mushy brews in the garage, and we just used to laugh for like hours and hours on end. But ultimately, it's not ideal when you're that age, and you sort of just. I lived in a little village, so it was quite sheltered as well. So my mum had 3 jobs, so she was always working. So I had all like the kids from the village in the house, and then I met a guy when I was 16. Because I started going out raving and on the coaches, you know, to Leeds and Liverpool and Blackpool and all sorts. And I met a guy, I'd known him for a matter of weeks, and I ended up moving away with him when I was 16. And the thought of my daughter now, one of them 16, coming home to me and saying, I'm moving out, I'd be like, what? You know, but my mum's like, I couldn't do anything. You were that headstrong, you know, I couldn't stop you. And I used to ring my mum up and say, crying and saying he'd beat me up, and like, you know, it was hard because there was no mobiles. I'd go to the actual phone box and ring my mum, then my mum would set off on the motorway, go to the services, and then I'd say, no, it's okay, turn round. He said he's sorry, and then she'd have to turn round. Soul destroying for a mother, and being a mother now and understanding how that must have affected her. So yeah, it was that's exactly. I have spoken only once on another podcast about when I was, I think I was about 14, 15, and I'd met a guy previous to that, and he kept standing me up, and he actually had a girlfriend and said he was going to finish with her, and I was besotted with this guy, and I ended up taking tablets, paracetamols, an overdose, not because I wanted to die. I just wanted the attention, and in my head I was thinking this is going to make my dad come home, because my dad actually moved away to the Philippines, and so the guy triggered it, but actually it was the intent of my dad coming back, which he didn't.
Yeah.
So there's lots of things, and abandonment and rejection and everything that's sort of layered up over the years that now I'm only realising.
It's so interesting how much unresolved trauma plays out in your day-to-day as a child, but then, as you said, in all of your relationships. Have you made peace with your father?
I haven't. I have internally. I've not picked up the phone to him and made peace. I've thought about it many times, especially as I've been going through this healing process. It's so hard because there's so much I feel, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do it. It's 17 years since I've spoke to him. So it's a long time. And obviously he's not getting any younger. Bringing him back into my life now, I just don't know if it's I don't know. You've got me there, because you've actually got me thinking again now that I've spoke about it so many times and thought about reaching out, and then I'm like, no, I've made peace with it. Energetically, I'm sending him love. I forgive him, but I just suppose again it's the fear of him then rejecting me and saying that he doesn't want to speak to me. That's probably stopping me. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe it's something else, because you've just said it, you've just triggered it again. So maybe I need to think about it.
Again, very different story to mine, but my biological father left when I was 3 months old. And I did not realize how much, like, that was the first heartache, it was the first heartbreak. And I did not realize that until maybe 2019, that was my first heartbreak, and then informed every single relationship that I had, from kids, partner, and like everything. And I have made peace, and I have spoken with him several times. And I also know that where he is in his journey and for his life path, it is probably not in my highest to be consciously bringing him in on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So therefore I can have a conversation, and I can send him love, and I can be so grateful and appreciative that he brought me into this world. Like, without him there is no me. So I can really tap into the gratitude and appreciation of that, and I can love him from afar. And just where he is in the journey right now is still too self-orientated. Or where I am, maybe what is more accurate is where I am in my journey. I can't fully accept him. Okay, there we go. I can't fully accept him for who he is yet. And so therefore I can love him from afar, but arm's distance is what feels safest and highest for me and my family. So I think that feels true.
Yeah, definitely. I've done the cutting cord meditations and stuff like that. So, and it's because I've got a brother as well, and I think there's a lot of hurt with regards to how he's treated him, and there's a lot. But like you say, I mean, there's this thing of like, just because they're blood and just because they're parents, it doesn't mean to say that they're the ideal person, or that you actually have to have them in your life. If they're not bringing anything good to your life and actually just hindering it and creating trauma in your life, then there's no rule that you have to have them there if they're making you constantly dragging you down to a low vibrational state. And that's not healthy, is it? I get the gratitude thing, and 100% I agree with that, and I am grateful for him to bringing me into this world. But you've really made me think, right, I'm actually going to do it. I'm actually just going to, because he lives in the Philippines, so I'm not even going to see him on a like day-to-day or anything like that. It would just be a phone call. Yeah. And and I suppose it's letting go of the fact of he's not reached out to me. Like, he's only met my firstborn, Hallie. I've had 2 children. I've got married, separated. There's a lot of, I suppose, why would he, as a parent, because I'm a parent, knowing how hard that would be to have a child and not want to be in their life, or not want to keep trying to, even if my kids are like, kept pushing me away, you would just keep trying, wouldn't you? You'd just keep letting them know that you was always going to be there for them. And even though if their choice was not to see you, that you would be like available. if they wanted to have you in their life. That's on
You would.
my personal level.
You would. I would. But I have a very different toolkit, you know. There's a very different programming. My dad's had
Yeah.
10
Do you think it's
kids.
'cause
I'm not
we're
sure that he
mothers?
has relationships. No, I think it's because this is our path. And I think that it's because we have done the work. But I think more than that, I think it's our path. You know what they say? People only do they do the best with the tools that they've got. And so there is an acceptance that my toolkit is so much more abundant than my father's toolkit. And my toolkit is so much more abundant than many other people who have been, like, so my background is fostered or adopted. My toolkit, so that means that my ability to look at my own shit and also work out, and listen, I'm very honest. I find business so much easier than mothering. You know, like not being in control and being fully open, keeping my heart open and not trying to force and push and all of that stuff I find challenging as a mother. So I come at this from a place of really, I am not perfect. I'm always learning. It's my biggest growth edge. But my desire is, that's part of my makeup. And I've got a lot of support internally, externally to help me get through my own shit. Support that my father never had, never will have. And also there's a level of like I just don't know. I know so little. Whereas if you speak to my dad, he'll tell you how much he knows, you know. So I'm like, there's just a different worldview and frame that we have that they don't have. And I don't think it's a gender thing. I think it's a toolkit. I think it's a soul contract. I think it's karma. I think it's past life. I think it's all of that.
Yeah, it's like Gabby Bernstein says, take them as assignments. People in our lives, every relationship is our teachers, isn't they? Aren't they? And each difficult situation can be seen as an assignment, I suppose, to work through. And it's up to us if we choose love or we choose any other emotion that's actually not real when not aligned with who we truly are as spiritual beings in this physical reality that we're in. Yeah.
This is the
I'll
this
let you
is
know
the
if I do
assignment.
contact him,
And
Susie.
when we look at it from that perspective, it's like, what am I missing right now? Where in my assignment am I missing pieces because I say no thank you? You know, it also becomes a valid question. It doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to change my behavior right now, but it's an interesting, like, I wonder what else would I be learning about forgiveness, about love, about fear, about acceptance, about non-judgment if I chose something different. Can I just say 1 second? My little girl is going to her dad's and she's had a tough time, so
Yeah.
I'm just going to give her a cuddle and then I'll come back. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem. No problem.
Thank you.
You all right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh.
So, I feel like when you were talking about the fact that you had a shopping addiction and you were buying things to fill a hole that could never be filled, what I was actually thinking is that I feel like that is like most of the Western world, and because you are in this footballer's wife's lifestyle, it's exacerbated because you have the cash to actually continue to live in that way. And I am curious, and obviously I'm not asking you to think about any specific people as such, but I feel like that whole world is it's easy for you to lose yourself. You said I was lost. That whole world, it's easy for you to lose yourself because there's so much money, which means that there's so many ways that you can distract yourself from looking at who you are. Does that feel fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah. That's exactly what happens with social media, though, with the kids, doesn't it? People are getting lost in social media and wanting to compare themselves and buying things that are super expensive to have the latest stuff. And yeah, it's constant. The distractions are everywhere, aren't they? Distract everyone from anything but looking within.
Yeah. Do you think that you could have stayed on the show but still gone through this journey of transformation that you are on right now?
No. No, not in that environment.
Why not?
You can't. It's too. It consumes you. So you're in the show, and there's obviously they're trying to navigate storylines, so they're trying to create more drama. They're finding out like who has said what and like what crossword somebody's had or who's wound you up, and will play on that, and they will make you then film you going around to each and every person to talk about it. So then that's been talked about. Then you are then waiting for the green screen, which is obviously the questions, you know, when you're talking when you're in your home, sat on the chair, and you're talking about the scene that's been shown. So then you're waiting for that because that's then filmed after the original scenes. But in the meantime, you're then talking about it between the cast members. Then you're coming home and you're telling your friends about what's happened, and your family are asking. So you're never out of that. Your head is never clear. It is just full and consumed with the show. So even though they say the reality TV people sometimes say, oh, well, they just follow you around everywhere you go. It doesn't work like that. They make you film like 3 times a week, and then they'll have, you know, you'll do the odd scene. It'll be a few hours here and there, and they'll make you go for lunch with somebody or have a facial with somebody, and then at the end of the week they'll do the finale, which will when everyone comes together, whether it's a dinner party or an event. And so yeah, but in the meantime, then it's just everyone's talking about it, whether you're talking to the producers, whether you're talking to the cast members, whether you're talking to your friends. You are consumed because then you're waiting for the big explosion or for the drama, and you're never out of it. You're never out of the drama. And yeah, so to be able to go on that spiritual journey that I've been on, to come away, because when I did come away from the show, I was just like, oh, I was done. I'd lost it on so many levels. I'd picked up something at the reunion and threw it, and it was actually an ashtray which was made of sponge, thank goodness. And because what was being said was just disgustingly, it was just awful, and I'd just had enough, and my kids were involved and being spoke about, and I was just like, no more. I can't, mentally I was done. So when I come away from the show, actually, I must have sort of knew it was coming. I sort of knew that was going to be my last series because of the way it was going and the things that were unfolding on a personal level between me and the other cast member. I just couldn't continue because of everything was not being told the truth wasn't being told and it was being twisted and manipulated, and then kids were brought into it. So I was just like, I can't do this anymore. So I'd got in touch with Jean Anderson, who did my hypnobirthing with my third little girl, Lola, and had had such an empowering experience. And this was sort of the beginning. I'd done crystal healing and stuff for years before. I got pregnant while I was having the crystal healing, but the hypnobirthing was a real awakening, that how we can control the body through our thoughts, through our mind, and going into that meditative state. And it was amazing, and I just wanted to share, because I was just desperate to do something empowering to women, because I'd felt so disempowered in that environment. And then actually I did the skydive on the last series of the show to raise money for a grassroots charity that Jean was working with out in Kenya, that was supporting women subject to female genital mutilation, forced marriage and gender-based violence. And that was a grassroots charity, but it was only very small, and she was working directly over there. So I said to Jean, let's do something, you should do it yourself. Jean had started like a little a slimming group she'd been on a bit of a rescue mission. She'd rescued a couple of girls that were going to be sold and cut, and she'd started this group to support them to get an education over there. So I was like, I want to help you, like, what can we do? And then did the parachute jump, raised some money, and then she created the One Woman at a Time, and I become patron, and then went out to Kenya actually in the January, and did a few over the next few years after that, did some charity events and balls and things like that. So and that, coming from the show to go to then Kenya and seeing the other side of the world and realising how much of a bubble I actually lived in, and my kids, and it was like I wanted to share with them, that where we are, that's not reality of everyone's life, it is a bubble. And it was so humbling to me, and it just driven me to want to just do more and help raise awareness for it. So I kind of went on a journey just really shouting about the FGM and trying to raise more awareness for it. And and still would like to raise some more for the charity. It's been a struggle since like all the COVID stuff, but ultimately Jean's still going, and she's amazing woman. And it's just, my journey just sort of continued from there. And and then I think the next thing that happened was the breast implant illness. I had my breast implants removed, and that's obviously then again down to just like losing that sort of image, that the persona of wanting to have I don't want to say this fake look, but I was just sort of done with it. I was done with that sort of persona that was depicted as Leanne Brown, the housewife sort of thing. So, yeah.
So how I started in this world is through hypnobirthing. When I had I had my first Caesar 12 years ago, had him at home in the water. And then when I had my second, I had her at home in the water, and her birth was painless. And I decided that I was going to study. So I did hypnotherapy, psychotherapy, and hypnobirthing. And hypnobirthing was actually the thing that I ran with, and created a company called the Calm Birth School. And from there, everything has unfolded. But it was really with, again, this desire. I'd had these incredible experiences, and I was like, I want to share this with the world. What was interesting is actually that world wasn't necessarily the most empowering world, like from an industry perspective, but the output, I think, is just stunning. So it really made me smile to hear your journey with that, and how much that activated for you. When you went to Kenya, you said one of the things that journey was, from Housewives to Kenya was humbling. I wonder, what else did you learn about yourself and about the world when you took that journey?
I learned that I'm very adaptable, that I was, I was just so open to learning about their way of life and understanding it, and just being so wide awake, and the fact that, you know, we can survive in the most, you know, difficult circumstances. And it took me to be quite headstrong. Like I always say, like, Dorothy was definitely not in Kansas anymore. You know, having to go to the toilet and it being holes in the floor, and oh gosh. And one time we were at this hotel, and the lift was broken. We had to traipse our luggage up the stairs. I mean, the fact that we had a hotel was amazing. But I smelt this bakery from downstairs. I said, "Oh, Jean, I can smell bread. Will you go and get me? Are you going to go down? Will you get me something from the bakery?" She was like, "Well, what do you want?" I said, "Oh, can you get me an almond croissant?" She went, "Yeah, of course I will. Of course I'm going to have a bloody almond croissant down here." When she brought it up, and it was this like bun, and it was literally, you could have thrown it at the wall. It was that hard. It's like, couldn't have ate it. It was like, talk about rock bun. And she was like, "Yeah, of course I will, you little diva, like almond croissant." And we went to when we got to the little village, they had like a little bar, which was, you know, they served alcohol and stuff, and we'd been travelling, and she was like, "Would you want a drink?" I said, "Oh yeah, like get me I'll have a gin and slimline tonic, please." And she was like, "Slimline tonic? Said they think they're going to do bloody slimline tonic. And do you want a piece of lemon in it as well, Leanne?" So yeah, we did gin and coke, which was a bit random, but yeah. So it was just. When we were driving, we were living in these, not living, like staying. We stayed there for about 5 nights in the village. When we got to the village from Nairobi, and we flew to Eldoret, and then from Eldoret we travelled by car, and we ended up. We just kept saying, "What's it like? What's it like where we're staying?" And she was like, "Well, it's a concrete building with a locked door and a white toilet." That was all we got, and that's exactly what it was.
Grateful.
But, It was luxury compared, yeah. And there was like pipes sticking out the wall for the shower with a bucket, and there was no like cooker. We had a gas stove in the kitchen that we were like trying to fry up onions in this frying pan, and the electricity went off at 11 o'clock. And you know, when we were travelling out to the countryside to find the tribal midwife and this girl that we were looking for to sponsor, literally, I've got the footage of it, and I should share it a bit more actually, to try and raise a bit more awareness again for the charity, because this girl lived in this. It was just a mud hut, and her and her 4 sisters slept on the floor, and it was showing what they ate. The ugali, which is just like the dried corn ground with water, and it's like a big dumpling, and they just had that 24/7. That's what they ate, or they occasionally like had a goat if there was a celebration that fed the whole village. And it just blows your mind, you know, that this is their life, you know, and we just have so much to be grateful for living in the Western world. But they were so happy still. They were so happy and so welcoming and beautiful people. And yeah, so it was an incredible experience. And yeah, I just learned to be so grateful for everything in my life, and also that I can be adaptable in the most difficult circumstances as well. It's like, even Jean went into this, we've got so many little stories, when we went to a cafe, and because obviously when you go somewhere and then you like get food, and we didn't obviously like the food very much. It was a bit like it wasn't our kind of food, you know what I mean? So, but this one time we went into this cafe and we'd ordered these chips and these masala chips they had, and Jean come in and it was pretty rough, this cafe, and she was like, "What are you doing?" And we were like, "We're just having some chips." She's like, "Even I wouldn't bloody eat in here." And so it was just so funny. But by then we were in it, you know, we were totally in it. And but it's funny, like when you're in somewhere like that, you can arrive. Or actually, when we got off the airport, we got in the car in Nairobi. The guy that picked us up, we stayed at a hotel. And when we got back in that same bus, it was like a people carrier, and it was a bit battered and stuff. But when we got back in it, we said, "Gideon, have you got a new car?" Because our perception had completely changed of the car that picked us up because of where we'd been for that period of time and just got used to life the way it was. And we were travelling around this little battered old Escort we were driving through rivers, and the water was coming up through the floor and all sorts. But when we got back in this car, we literally could have sworn it was a new car because our perceptions had totally changed. And it was just crazy.
Yeah.
You get used to things as they are.
I think it's really interesting because what I hear is you come from a life that is wildly privileged. You have had so much, you have to buy what you like, you know, that was life. And yet there was a part of you that felt lost, or you felt lost. And then you go to Kenya and you are with people who have, from a material sense, so much less choice, so much less money, so much less of the things that we are so fortunate to take for granted: sanitation, fresh water, medical care, supplies. And yet, not only from a spiritual perspective do these people seem a lot happier, for you, when everything else was stripped away, the simplicity of life is what you embraced. When you get back into this battered old Escort again, that perception switch, it's like, wow, this gets to be amazing. And I think that there's just something in that. My life, I love the luxe. I love a nice hotel. I love an infinity pool. I love all of that. But it's interesting, like, how much more would that be even more incredible if I stripped all of the other stuff that is unnecessary away? And I have no opinion about whether it's right or wrong. Like, I love life and I love working, and I feel grateful to have created the life that I have. And there's just something I remember when I went and did a plant medicine ceremony, and I didn't have any salt and pepper on my food for months beforehand in preparation. And then when I was there, the food was so bland that when at the end of the ceremony they presented us with this platter of fruit, I had a banana and I cried. I was like, this is the nicest banana. It's either a banana or a blueberry. Like, this is the nicest piece of fruit I've ever had in my entire life. And I wouldn't have had that if I hadn't have had the deprivation for so long. So I'm not sure, but I appreciate the reflection.
Yeah, there is so much to be said. I mean, I love, having the things I have, but the important thing is just to check yourself and do that gratitude every single day. And this is something I've really got in a habit of doing. Just being grateful for every single small thing, from my feet to my toes, to my hands, to my organs, to my skin, to the day, to the bed, to the cover, to every single tiny thing. And I'll try and go through like a thing, thank you for every time when I wake up, and it actually does put you in a good mood, because how can it not? Because I would say, like, gratitude is like a flower that you just like water with love and share like the gratitude out loud and speak it out loud. So And my friend rang the other day, and I was like, I didn't realise I'd answered the phone, and I was like singing like, "Thank you for the day, thank you for the sunshine." And she was like, "Oh, you're in a good mood." And it's like, yeah, but it does. It just like, we have a choice. I was just listening to a podcast before, and it was just talking about, once you realise that, I'm sure, like you've said this over and over, about this very moment right now is the only thing that exists. And this very instant, we have a choice to to experience whatever emotion we want to experience in this moment. I know sometimes we have the experience of experiencing difficult emotions and things that come and go, which we have to honour, but ultimately it's just an awareness of that. And once we realise the emotional state that we're in each given moment, can dictate the next moment and the next, and that is all we have. That is all we have. And it's just navigating each moment by moment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the mastery. That's the invitation. So look, you have gone from Housewives to Kenya to now hosting retreats for people.
Yeah.
What is the intention and the purpose behind the retreats?
So we aim to help people, give them tools to navigate their own emotionals, thoughts, experiences that may be difficult in their lives, connect with themselves, detoxify their body, educate them on nutrition. I don't know if you know much about Sophie's story, but my business partner, she ended up having a endocrine pancreatic tumour, which was 15 centimetres removed. They've just left the tip of her pancreas. They removed her spleen also. And then she ended up curing herself. She had some radiotherapy. Then she had a problem with the bowel, so then she had to go and have part of her bowel removed. They said that she'd be diabetic. She refused the medication. She started educating herself, and her ex-partner looked into it in depth to what can we do to heal you on a holistic level, on a natural level. And they discovered Dr. Sebi, who his studies, have you heard of Dr. Sebi? I'm sure you have. His studies saying that how he's healed a lot of people, like cancers and diabetes and all different diseases through diet alone. So she studied him and implemented that into her life. But she actually then got called back 12 months later, and she had secondary liver cancer, a shadow on her liver. So they were going to take her in and basically then take part of her liver away. So she refused. Well, she didn't refuse. She was ready to go back in to do that, but she was having a scan 10 days later, and they just said, right, let's just do what we can over this next 10 days. Let's completely fast, strip back everything, alkalise the body completely, because as we know, cancer can't live in an alkalised body. And she went back 10 days later, and the doctor rang, and it was the bank holiday, and she panicked because she thought, oh my God, it must be bad news. And he said, Sophie, I don't know what to tell you, there's nothing there, it's gone. So didn't want to know why, didn't want to know how, just literally sent her on her way. And that's the problem with this, the medical industry. There's so many different people that are specialists in their field, but actually they don't see the body as a whole, a connective oneness. They see it as individual parts that they're trying to work on. Even the guy that did she had to go in, and they wanted to remove more of a bowel, and she refused that also, and said that she wanted to try and do it herself, which she managed to do so. And he even turned around and said, I'm just the plumber, Sophie, because she was talking about how other things could affect it, and he was like, well, I'm just the plumber. So it's quite sad that, it's a shame that as a whole, that we're not seen as a whole entity, and we're sort of split up, our anatomy is split up into parts, and then people to study, and they don't communicate with each other. But ultimately, that's why Sophie has the education on her, on the food and nutrition, and she gives, it's plant-based, so it's like a detox. And yeah, I do the meditation and the yoga and the workshops, the self-love, the manifestation, and just help people understand themselves. And because it's such a safe space and we get to know each other, and people feel safe to be able to speak about their own experiences, and they have the support there. And yeah, it's just a beautiful space because we have sort of a little bit of everything in there. We had fitness actually in
And how long have
Portugal
you
this
been running
time
the
as well.
retreats?
We had a PT there, so we did weights and in the morning, and then we did yoga, and it was amazing time. It was probably the best retreat. It is the best retreat that we've done so far. But again, it's just about the process of the experience and the learning and improving each time. So yeah, we've already booked out Portugal for the end of June next year. So we're just finalising all that and getting that out because yeah, we're just absolutely loving. We
And
love
how long have
what
you been?
drives us is the feedback.
How long have you been running them?
So we initially started doing them. Was it? So me and Sophie started 18 months ago together, but previous to that, I did 3 other UK retreats with Jess, and then Sophie came and did the food. But then Jess obviously just launched belief coding, and she said, I can't keep getting away every other month for 4 or 5 nights. She said, I'm going to have to, just focus on being at home. And so yeah, so we, me and Sophie obviously hit it off, and it was definitely meant to be because we just sort of then connected and started doing some of the day retreats, and then went on to do the Portugal retreat as well that year. So it's really in its
I
infancy, the
didn't.
brand in itself.
I didn't realise that you were connected to Jess Cunningham.
Oh, did you not?
Not at
Yeah,
all. I really love her. She's an incredible woman.
yeah. Jess has been a real positive influence in my life. You know, when they say the people get sent to your life at the right time. So it was actually, I'd left Housewives, and I got introduced to her by a mutual friend, Alyssa Corrigan, who does the El Sarah, which again is another. You should get Alyssa on the podcast actually. She has her own podcast as well, but it's a women's health supplement, which is like an alternative to HRT. But Alyssa actually helped me write the my self-help journal, which was Grace, Gratitude, Grit. And we went to an event and then met Jess, and yeah, we got really close. And actually Jess was she'd just launched, well, it was before she launched belief coding, but she did a couple of belief coding sessions on me before it was called belief coding. And one of them was actually, I'd started doing meditations on another platform called Shinny. He was doing a platform on Facebook for addiction, and he asked me to go on and do the meditations on there, on his platform for his audience. But I really struggled to do it on my own platform because of the judgment that I was thinking, oh, the people are just going to be like, oh, who does she think she's a meditation teacher now when she's come from Housewives, and
Yeah.
she's just a wag that's like wannabe sort of spiritual guru, whatever. And I had all this stuff, so I was like, I can't do it because I'm just, people are going to judge me. And so she belief coded me, and after that, then I started speaking more and more on my own platform and doing it on there. So yeah, she really. She helped tonight. It was Jess that came on my podcast, and I said I was supposed to be doing a retreat with another gym company in Portugal, and which ended up didn't happening, but I got the contact, which is when me and Sophie did it the following year. But Jess was like, I said, I really want to do retreats. I'm supposed to be doing one. Jess was like, let's do a retreat. I've just had a download. Let's do a retreat together. So that's how the Divine Feminine Retreats was born initially, and we did 3 4-night retreats in the UK. Sophie actually wasn't meant to be on them retreats. We got her in to do the chefing, to do the food, but it was another lady that was meant to do it who dropped out last minute, and then Sophie stepped in. So how much is that divine timing and meant to be sent together? We were meant to be. She's literally like my soul sister. She's amazing, Sophie. Yeah. But Jess is flying now, isn't
I
she? She's doing
love
so well.
this. She's doing great. She's doing great. And I love how we are all connected. It is beautiful.
Yeah.
Right. In wrapping up, I always have a certain few questions that I like to ask people in celebration of the Infinite Receiving book. So, my first question for you, Leanne, is what does infinite receiving mean to you?
Infinite receiving means tuning in to the infinite possibility of everything, without attachment to the outcome. Because if you're attached to the outcome of anything, it's very difficult to receive all that is possible.
Yeah, I agree. Are you good at it?
I'm getting better. I'm getting better. It's
Everybody
a journey,
says
and
the same thing.
I am, yeah, I'm always learning, I'm always growing, and the more connected I feel and the more tuned in I do, tuned in I am, sorry, the more things change. And I guess, yeah, I am good at it, because if I think about the things that I have manifested so far, it's, I suppose we go through life and we don't actually really look at the past enough to realise how far we've come. Even though I talk about all this stuff when I'm doing these podcasts, but actually when you ask me a question, am I good at it? Well, damn right, yeah, I'm good at it. Because I'm here, and you know what I mean? I wouldn't be here if I wasn't good at it. So yeah, I am open to receiving, and that's one of my affirmations I've been doing. I am open to receiving all that is aligned and right for me for the greatest good of all. That's one of my affirmations I've been doing lately.
I love that. Where or who in your life right now could you allow people to love you a little bit more?
Where could I allow people to love me a little bit more?
Yeah. Where or who
Allow
specifically?
That's a real tough question. Allow to love me a little bit more. I suppose
Is there anybody that springs to mind? Yeah.
I would say, like, it's weird because I would like to say allow to love me. I would probably say my girls, because and I know they love me, and we're obviously we get what we put out to the universe, and our thoughts control everything, don't they, at the end of the day, and our emotions. And since separating, I have been, it's been really tough. It's been really tough emotionally, mentally, to deal with the fact that I'm the one that chose to leave, and that I'm worried that my girls will, hold that against me, or how they're feeling, and then wanting to connect with them. But actually, I've sort of created this story that they're going to forget what I did when I was in that, there all the time. The fact that they don't wake up in the bed in my house every morning because it's like 50-50, it literally kills me. And sometimes when they're meant to come to mine, they'll turn around and say, oh, I'm staying at Dad's tonight. But the 12, 16 and 20, I can't dictate and drag them to come and see me. I don't want to have to force them, but it's only because it's ease for them. Oh, I can't bother getting my stuff together, or I want to go out with my friends, or, they're actually getting to that age now where they're actually doing the hanging out with the mates. And so that would happen normally anyway because of their age. But ultimately, me not being at home waiting for them to come in the door, and them getting in bed and waking up every morning, that has been really difficult for me. And I suppose I've been really feeling that, and feeling, like I say, feeling sorry for myself, but supposedly feeling like, oh, they don't love me, they've forgotten about me, and all that. And I suppose then I'm putting that out to the universe, so then I'm feeling that even more. So I suppose just connecting with them more and allowing them to love me, because changing the story that I'm sort of written in the depths of when I've been feeling at my worst. I've been writing this story that they don't care about me and they don't love me as much, when actually I know that's not true. So ultimately putting out, I know they love me, I've got a great relationship with them, which I have, but it's just allowing it and receiving the infinite possibility of love.
Oh, thank you so much for being so open and honest. And I just want to say, I hear you and I feel you. And it's true, like whatever we are thinking, we will find evidence to support that. And so it's a beautiful opportunity to really reinforce how much they love you and how many times you can notice every day how much they love you. I think that is a beautiful thing to be a conduit for and a magnet for. So thank you for calling it. What is your greatest attribute, Leanne?
My greatest attribute, I would probably say the ability to be vulnerable. I'm very open in when I talk about things, and it's only comes from a place of love to wanting to share, to help other people, and to do that you have to be vulnerable. And we know, as Brené Brown says, to be vulnerable you have to have a lot of courage. So I suppose I'm courageous in the sense that I'm not afraid to be vulnerable, to help others see their worth and their strength.
Thank you. What's one thing that you are consciously working on manifesting right now?
My new man.
I know it. I was thinking in my head, a lover.
He's got a tall order to fill, trust me.
I believe
but,
it. I believe it.
Yeah, I would like to be in a relationship when the time is right. And at the minute, so I obviously went through when I was separated, and it's been 18 months now since I've moved out, but actually the relationship was over before that. But ultimately, when I left, I remember saying to my friend, my friend was saying, oh, you probably won't meet anyone for at least a couple of years now. I'm like, yes, I will. Yes, I will. I'm going to meet somebody. Don't say that. Of course I will. And I was just thinking, again, of just having someone to fill the hole that was going to be missing, but actually then not filling the hole for myself. So ultimately, and don't get me wrong, there's little bouts that I think, oh, I really just wish I would just had somebody, just be nice to have that companionship and that partnership and that communication and that on that emotional level and physical level. But then I have to just home it back in and know that what I'm doing is building I'm fulfilling the list of what I'm trying to bring in. That's what I'm trying to do. And once I've mastered that, or I'm sort of working on myself to the extent of I'm actually doing all them things, because we ask for people to be brought in, but actually, are we showing up for ourselves in that way? So do I have all these attributes that I'm asking for in this guy, or not? Because if I don't, why not? It's pretty, you should be fulfilling that within yourself, and then they just add to that, don't they? So they just make it stronger.
Then it's
they just
overflow.
Reinforce it. Yeah, definitely. So yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for your next great love whenever he's ready, whenever you're ready. And final question, where can you allow yourself to be more supported in your life right now?
I think just supporting myself and not being afraid. One thing I've really struggled with is being alone. Since being obviously living on my own, but I've always found a way of going out with a friend or having somebody round and actually not really being comfortable with just it being me. And that's something that I need to do for myself and support myself in that way, so I can feel comfortable, completely comfortable being alone. And actually something did come up for me lately about this, because it was about being independent. And I sat with somebody who was like, why is it not happening for you? You've got all this, this and this, and you're literally, all these things that you've got, your ideas and stuff, but it's literally there, and your finishing line is there, and there's something stopping you subconsciously. What is it? I was like, being independent, being financially free, and all the rest of it. And I sat with it, and what come up was being alone, because independence meant I didn't need anybody, and if you don't need anybody, that means you potentially be alone. So that's what I got from sitting with that, that thought of what is it that's stopping me being totally independent. So yeah, I feel like I just need to support myself through that, and not be afraid to be on my own, in my own space, and tune in even more, I suppose, and just allow.
Beautiful. Leanne, thank you so much. I really, really loved our conversation. Can you let everybody know where they can find out more about your work and your retreats?
Of course, it is eatprayandselflove.co.uk is the website, and we are on Instagram. Obviously, if you go on my bio Leanne Brown 1111, or eat_pray_self-love, and you can find all the information on there. We will be releasing the Portugal dates, and we also, I don't know when is this going to be posted, Susie?
I'm not sure, but hit us with it.
Oh, it's just that we have a retreat in September at Arnside, but it's on the 22nd, so if it's not before then, it's obviously not worth mentioning. But we do have regular weekend retreats at Arnside.
I don't think it will be before, but we will still put links. We'll put a link in, so people will be able to check it out, even if they don't meet this one.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you have loved this conversation as much as I have. If you have, please do me a favour, tag me on Instagram, tag Leanne, share with a friend who you think would benefit from hearing us talk. And I look forward to being in your earbuds next time. And in the meantime, please remember that faith plus action equals miracles.